Namaste. Last session we have learned buffer competition, features of buffer competition, price output determination, shape of average revenue curve, marginal revenue curve, the price output determination, the short run and the long run we have learned. There, how the price of a commodity is determined under buffer competition in market, that is because of the force of demand and supply. And when demand and supply intersect each other, their price of a commodity is determined. And what happens when the demand curve changes, what happens the supply curve changes, several equilibrium conditions, through several diagrams we can learn that. So before that we can learn the next market structure, that is monopoly. What is monopoly? In order to know about monopoly, we have to see what are the features of monopoly. This is another market structure, which is the extreme form of market structure. And first feature of monopoly is that there is only single seller. There is single seller, that may be a group of partners or a joint stock company or a state. So there may be only one seller only will be for the particular product. And that may be group of partners who are joining together and deciding what is the price, what should be supplied, like that, and or a joint stock company or a state, because of certain natural conditions or because of some legal restrictions. So because of some, due to natural restrictions or due to legal, that is legal restrictions means patent, copyrights, sole dealership, that is a person who has invented a new commodity or a new raw material or a new method of production, that person is getting the copyright or the patent, that person is getting the patent. So that person only allowed to produce their commodity. So there comes a monopoly and the sole dealership. So there is no difference between firm and industry. And the buffer competition, we have seen several firms together constitute an industry. Here there is no difference between firm and industry. Then, so under monopoly, he is a price maker. Under buffer competition, we have seen he is a price taker. That is, under buffer competition, the producer is a price taker, but under monopoly, he is a price maker. So under buffer competition, he is a price taker. Whatever the price is prevailing in the market, that should be accepted by the firm. So we have seen the demand curve, supply curve, that way we are getting the equilibrium. What is equilibrium price? That way we can see that the demand curve is formed under buffer competition. But under monopoly, he is a price maker. Here we can see there are the state. I told you a state monopoly is there. Here in our country, there is a state monopoly, power over electricity supply, then supply of water, that is the whole supply of water, there is a monopoly of state. And that is a public facility. The electricity, we can see that the government is having the right to produce electricity and selling. So that is an example, and we can see the Indian railways. One way the Indian railway, even though there are other substitutes for moving from one place to another place or taking the goods from one place to another place, but you know that it is a bulk carrier. As a bulk carrier, there is no close substitutes. There is a second point connected to the majority of these points are interrelated. So what is the second point? There is no close substitutes. Only a single seller will be there under the control of the government, that is a state, or under a joint stock company or under partnership. So there is no close substitutes. There is no close substitute. Here you know that the cross elasticity of demand will be zero. We cannot substitute one good for another. That is a case, no close substitutes, and as no close substitutes, example railway, we cannot see any other substitute as a bulk carrier. As in railways, we can carry tons of goods from one place to another place. So you know that as a bulk carrier, there is no substitute. And the third one, freedom of entry is restricted or the prohibited. How it is restricted? By law. Or you can see that by law, that means that those who develop new products are granted the patent rights. So by law or because of the natural scarcity, also you know that new firms cannot enter. That is legally not allowed. So those who develop new products are granted patent rights and only they are allowed to produce a commodity. So under perfect competition we have seen new firms can enter into industry and existing firms can leave the industry. I told you already, there is no difference between firm and industry, both are the same. Firm and industry both are the same, because only several firms constitute industry. Here only one firm, of that one firm itself is the industry under monopoly. Then coming to the next price here one thing regarding the price maker. What about the price maker? We can see that as monopolist, he is the only seller. Connected to all this point, there is no close substitutes, there is no freedom of entry and exit. So connected to this, we can say that what is a price maker? He has the full control over the price of the commodity. In some, we can see that we can say 4 features. Some cases this can be taken as another feature, that is number 5. We can write that as a price maker, he is having the full control over the price of the product. Or here itself we can write how he is having the full control over the price of the product, because there is no close substitutes and new firms cannot enter into the industry. That is why he has the full control over the price of the product. Price of the product. So the question comes, the implication of single seller, implication of freedom of entry and exit. There also you can write that we can see that there is no, the firm, the monopolist can fully control the price of the product because supply is under his control. And another version is also there. If you want to supply a particular commodity, he has to reduce the price. That is, if he wants to sell that much more commodity, really he has to reduce the price of the product. Then coming to the next point, price discrimination. What is price discrimination? Charging different prices from different buyers. Charging different prices from different buyers. That is price discrimination. Regarding the hospitals, the doctors will charge differently from different category of people. Poor people may be there. Regarding operation charges, earlier it was a condition of operation charges. From rich people, they will charge higher rates, and from poor people may not charge any operation charge as it is, or they will reduce that. So here charging different prices from different buyers, and this is price discrimination. That is, the seller will charge differently from different buyers. Here this can also be said is in another way also. That means he will charge same price. Yes, he will charge same price and give differentiated products. And he will give differentiated products regarding some fruits or like that, some mango or that way, that he will charge the same price, and some maybe the consumer, maybe his customer, or that consumer always used to come and buy from that shop, or like that. Some privileges may be there. So because of that reason, he will charge at the same charge he may be charging, but may be giving different types of product, that the better products for them, like that. So this is one sentence. Price discrimination means charging different prices from different buyers. At the same time, we can say one more thing. What is it? That is same price for the differentiated products. So these are the features of monopoly. Features of monopoly. There is single seller. That single seller may be a producer selling that particular product, or it may be a joint stock company, or a group of partners, or the state. It may be due to natural condition, because of the natural scarcity. Only one seller is there, one producer is there. And or there may be some legal restrictions may be there regarding patents, rights, copyrights, or is the sole dealership may be there. And so there is no difference in firm and industry. And he is a price maker, as he can fully control the price of the product. Here we can see the example, electricity, regarding the state monopoly, and water supply. But that as a public facility, that is also a monopoly. And freedom of entry is restricted. prohibited by law, and new firms cannot enter into the industry because they grant some patents or rights. Only those they can, or that person can produce that commodity. And coming to the next, price discrimination, imposing different prices from different buyers or same price from differentiated products. So this is regarding the features of monopoly. Corresponding to that, we can see what is the AR shape of that is demand curve of monopoly. That is, from this we can arrive how a average revenue curve or the marginal revenue curve will be under monopoly. Now we are going to learn about the shape of the average revenue curve and marginal revenue curve. Average revenue curve can also be known as the demand curve of the firm. That is, average revenue curve is the demand curve of the firm. That is, what is the price is determined. According to the price, the producer will get the revenue back. And so, how many consumers will demand the commodity? According to that, the producer will get the revenue. That is why average revenue curve is also known as demand curve. And here, the average revenue curve is sloping downwards from left to right. So, under monopoly, the producer has a full control over the price of the commodity. He is a price maker. So, here we can see that the demand curve is sloping downwards from left to right. This means that if the producer wants to sell more units, if the seller wants to, producer wants to sell more units, he has to reduce the price of the product. That is, if the producer wants to sell more units, the producer has to reduce the price of the products. Because of the same reason, we can see that marginal revenue curve is also sloping downwards from left to right. So, let us see the marginal revenue curve. The marginal revenue curve will also slope downwards from left to right. So, we can see that why the marginal revenue, what is the shape of marginal revenue curve? Marginal revenue curve is also sloping downwards from left to right. What is the reason? The same reason. The producer wants to sell more units, he has to reduce the price of the products. So, AR curve is sloping downwards, then MR curve is sloping downwards, and MR curve will lie below. MR curve will lie below the average revenue curve. That means that always marginal revenue will be lesser than average revenue. So, you understood what is the shape of the average revenue curve. What is the shape of the average revenue curve? Average revenue curve will slope downwards from left to right. The reason is that if the producer wants to sell more units, he has to reduce the price of the product. Suppose first he is selling this much, that is OP. Suppose the price of the commodity is 150 rupees per kilogram and he is able to sell 20 units. And if he wants to sell more units, you can see that he has to reduce the price of the product. He has to reduce the price of the product by 70 rupees. We can see that he is able to sell to 40, 60, 80, 100, more than 100 units he is able to sell. So that is I told you earlier, he is a price maker, he has a full control over the price. At the same time we can see that if he wants to sell more units, he has to reduce the price. So even though he is a price maker, one side we can see that really he can either fully control supply or price. If he is controlling supply, he wants to sell 110 units, he can sell 110 units. What is the thing is that he has to reduce the price. Suppose he wants to sell 150 itself, he can. But the thing is that he can sell only lesser units. So that is this, because of the same reason, marginal revenue curve will also slope downwards from left to right, and MR curve will lie below the AR curve. I hope you understood. You have seen what are the features of monopoly, and connected to that how the curve, average revenue curve is sloping downwards from left to right. But technically how to draw, this way you can draw. Suppose how AR curve is drawing like that, and take the middle point here, then you can draw the MR curve. This is how really you have to draw AR curve and MR curve. I hope you understood. So AR, MR, what is it here? Output. Then here revenue. As we are measuring revenue, here we have to measure revenue and price. When the price output equilibrium comes, we can write here cost also. On y-axis we can measure cost also. I hope you understood. Thank you, children.